The ship was dying. Everyone aboard knew it. The engines made sounds they should not make, and the lights flickered every few minutes like a candle in the wind. Elder Soraya stood at the bridge window and watched the stars blur past. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, the hunters were coming. "How long?" she asked. The young pilot checked his instruments with shaking hands. 2 hours, maybe 3. The drive cannot take much more. Soraya closed her eyes. She was old now, older than any Villani should be. Her scales had faded from bright blue to pale gray, and her joints ached with every movement. But her mind was sharp, and her memories were clear. Too clear, sometimes. She remembered things that happened before most species in the galaxy were born. She remembered Earth. The ship carried 412 Villani. They were refugees, survivors, the last fragments of a species that once ruled 1,000 worlds. Now they had nothing, no home, no fleet, no hope. The Dominion Accord had hunted them for 3,000 years, and they were very good at hunting. "There's a signal," the pilot said suddenly. "We are approaching a border." Soraya opened her eyes. "Whose border?" The pilot studied his screens. His face showed confusion. "Human space. The species called humanity." A strange feeling moved through Soraya's old heart. She had not thought about humans in a very long time. When she last saw their world, they had been primitive creatures living in caves and hunting with sharp stones. That was 12,000 years ago. She wondered what they had become. "Send a distress signal," she said. "On all frequencies." The pilot looked at her with worry. "Elder, the humans are a minor species. They cannot protect us from the Dominion. We should keep running." "Send the signal," Soraya repeated. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Trust me." The message went out into the void. For long minutes, there was only silence. The ship groaned and shuddered as its engines fought to keep working. Behind them, the Dominion hunters grew closer. Then a voice came through the speakers. It spoke in the common galactic language, but with a strange accent that Soraya had never heard before. "Unknown vessel, this is the HSS Patience. We have received your distress signal. State your identity and situation." The pilot responded quickly, explaining who they were and what was chasing them. There was a pause after he finished. Soraya could imagine the human crew discussing what to do. A ship full of refugees being hunted by the most powerful military alliance in the galaxy. Any sensible species would tell them to keep moving. Getting involved meant war. The voice returned. "Villani vessel, reduce speed and prepare for escort. We are coming to you." Soraya felt tears forming in her eyes. She wiped them away quickly. It was foolish to hope. One human ship could not save them. But still, the gesture meant something. The HSS Patience appeared on their screens 20 minutes later. It was a small vessel, barely larger than their refugee ship. Its design was simple and practical, without the elegant curves of Dominion warships or the aggressive angles of other military species. It looked like a ship built by people who cared more about function than appearance. A new voice came through the speakers. This one was deeper, calmer, carrying the weight of authority. "This is Captain Marcus Cole of the HSS Patience. I am told you are Villani refugees seeking asylum. Is this correct?" "It is correct," Soraya answered. "But Captain, you should know that the Dominion Accord is hunting us. They will not stop at your border. If you help us, you will make powerful enemies." There was a brief silence. When Cole spoke again, his voice had changed. There was something new in it, something Soraya could not identify. "Did you say Villani? The same Villani who fought at the Battle of Silent Stars 12,000 years ago?" Soraya's breath caught in her throat. "You know of that battle. Every human child learns about it." Cole said, "We know what your people did for us. We know the price you paid." His voice grew harder. "The Dominion can send their hunters. They can send their whole damned fleet. But they will not touch you while you are under our protection. You have my word." The refugee ship crossed into human space with the Patience flying beside it like a guardian. For the first time in years, Soraya allowed herself to feel something like safety. She did not know if the humans could truly protect them, but she knew they would try. And after 3,000 years of running, that meant more than she could express. The hunters arrived 2 hours later. There were 5 Dominion ships, sleek and deadly, designed for exactly this kind of work. They stopped at the border, and their commander sent a message to the patients. Human vessel, you are harboring criminals wanted by the Dominion Accord. Surrender them immediately, or face the consequences. Captain Cole's response was immediate. The Vellani have requested asylum in human space. Their request has been granted. They are under our protection now. You cannot protect them, the Dominion commander said. His voice dripped with contempt. You are one small ship from a minor species. The Dominion Accord rules half the galaxy. Stand aside, or we will remove you. I will not stand aside. Then you will die, and we will take the refugees anyway. Your gesture is meaningless. Cole laughed. It was not a nervous laugh or a scared laugh. It was the laugh of someone who knew something the other person did not. Let me tell you a story, Cole said. 12,000 years ago, my ancestors were nothing. We lived in caves. We hunted animals with rocks and sticks. We did not know that other species existed. We did not know that the galaxy was full of life. And we certainly did not know that the Dominion Accord had decided we were worthless and should be destroyed. The Dominion commander said nothing. The Dominion sent a fleet to burn our world. Cole continued. They were going to kill us all before we ever had a chance to grow. But someone stopped them. Someone stood in their way. The Vellani Empire, at the height of its power, looked at our primitive little world and decided we deserved a chance to live. They fought the Dominion fleet. They won. And then the Dominion came back with more ships, and the Vellani fought again, and again, and again. Soraya listened with tears streaming down her face. She had not known that humans remembered. She had not known that anyone remembered. The Vellani sacrificed everything for us, Cole said. Their empire, their fleets, their home world, everything. They did not ask for thanks. They did not ask for payment. They simply believed that a young species deserved the chance to grow. And because of them, we did grow. We became what we are today, ancient history, the Dominion commander said, but his voice had lost some of its confidence. It changes nothing. Surrender the refugees. You are not listening, Cole said. Humans remember. We remember everyone who helped us, and we remember everyone who tried to hurt us. We have been preparing for this moment for a very long time. The Vellani gave us a gift 12,000 years ago. Today, we begin to repay that gift. You are one ship, the commander repeated. What can you possibly do? I can delay you. Cole said simply. I can fight you, and I can hurt you, and I can make you bleed for every meter you advance. And while I am doing that, my message is traveling across human space at the speed of light. Every human world is hearing what I am hearing. Every human ship is learning what I am learning. The Vellani need our help. The Dominion is threatening our friends. He paused. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. You should not have come here. You should have let them go, because now you have reminded us of an old debt, and you have given us a reason to pay it. Turn around. Go home. Tell your masters that the Vellani are under human protection, and that protection is not negotiable. The Dominion commander's response was to order his ships forward. They crossed the border with weapons charging. The patients moved to intercept. A single small ship against 5 hunters. The battle lasted 11 minutes. The patients took heavy damage. 2 of its crew members died. But when it was over, 3 Dominion ships were drifting wreckage, and the other 2 were running back across the border with critical damage. Captain Cole stood on his wounded bridge, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, and watched them flee. Then he opened a channel to the refugee ship, Elder Soraya. Are you safe? We are safe. She whispered. Captain, I do not know how to thank you. You thanked us 12,000 years ago. Cole said, everything that happens now, everything we do, it is because you gave us the chance to exist. Rest now. More ships are coming to escort you to Earth. You will be safe there, Earth. Soraya repeated, I saw your world once, long ago. It was beautiful. It still is, Cole said. And soon you will see it again, this time as honored guests, this time as family. The message ended. Soraya stood alone at the bridge window, watching the stars. And for the first time in 3,000 years, she believed that her people might survive, not because they were strong, not because they were clever, but because long ago they had shown kindness to strangers, and those strangers had never forgotten. Across the galaxy, the news spread like fire. the Dominion had attacked human space. Humans had fought back, and now humanity was calling in an ancient debt. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant. She had never felt so humble, and she had never felt so hopeful. The galaxy was about to change forever, and she had never felt so humble, and she had never felt so hopeful. The galaxy was about to change forever, and Admiral Kethra stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Wrath, and watched human space grow larger on his screens. 200 warships followed behind him, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a small moon. It was the largest fleet the Dominion had deployed in centuries, and Kethra was proud to command it. "We are approaching the human defense line," his tactical officer reported. 50 ships detected. Kethra smiled, his sharp teeth gleaming in the bridge lights. 50 ships against 200. These humans are either brave or stupid. Possibly both, Admiral. It does not matter. Signal the fleet to advance. Standard attack formation. Let us finish this quickly. The Dominion fleet moved forward like a great wave of death. Kethra had studied human ships before the mission, and he was not impressed. They were functional but unremarkable, lacking the elegant design of Dominion vessels. Their weapons were adequate but not exceptional. Their shields were standard. Everything about them suggested a species that had developed in isolation, without the pressure of galactic competition to push them to excellence. The 50 human ships held their position as the Dominion approached. They did not retreat. They did not call for reinforcements. They simply waited, like stones in the path of a flood. Weapons range in 30 seconds. The tactical officer announced, "Fire when ready," Kethra ordered. "Destroy them all." The battle began with a storm of energy. Dominion ships launched their weapons in perfect coordination, filling space with deadly light. The human vessels responded instantly, moving with surprising speed and precision. Their shields flared as they absorbed hits. Their own weapons struck back with unexpected accuracy. Kethra watched with growing interest as the humans fought. They were better than he had expected. Their tactics were clever, using the smaller size of their fleet to maintain flexibility. They supported each other, covering weaknesses, concentrating fire on vulnerable targets. One Dominion ship exploded, then another. A third lost its engines and drifted helplessly. But numbers were numbers. No amount of skill could overcome a 4-to-1 advantage. Slowly, inevitably, the human line began to break. Ships took damage they could not repair. Formations fell apart. The 50 became 40, then 30, then 20. "They are retreating," the tactical officer said with satisfaction. "The human fleet is falling back." Kethra nodded. "Pursue them. Do not let them escape. I want this victory to be complete." The Dominion fleet surged forward, chasing the fleeing human ships. Kethra felt triumph building in his chest. This was how wars were supposed to go. The strong crushed the weak. The Dominion ruled because they were superior. Humanity was learning that lesson now, written in the fire of their burning ships. Then his sensors officer made a sound Kethra had never heard before. It was something between a gasp and a whimper. "Admiral," the officer said, his voice shaking. "New contacts. Many new contacts. Reinforcements." "How many?" The officer turned to look at him. His face had gone pale. "Thousands, Admiral. Thousands of ships." Kethra felt cold fear wash through him. He looked at his tactical display and saw it filling with new icons. They were appearing from everywhere. From behind asteroids. From the shadows of gas giants. From hidden positions throughout the system. Ships upon ships upon ships. More than he could count. More than he had ever seen in one place. "That is impossible," he whispered. "The humans cannot have that many ships." "Our intelligence said." "Our intelligence was wrong," his first officer interrupted. "Admiral, we need to retreat. Now." But it was already too late. The human fleet that had been fleeing suddenly stopped and turned. They had not been retreating at all. They had been leading the Dominion into a trap, and now the trap was closing. The first wave of human ships hit the Dominion fleet from behind. They struck with devastating precision, targeting engines and weapons systems. Dominion vessels that had been pursuing moments ago found themselves surrounded and outgunned. The orderly formation collapsed into chaos. Kethra screamed orders, trying to organize a defense. But there was no defense against this. The humans were everywhere, their ships moving with perfect coordination like a single vast organism. Every time a Dominion captain tried to concentrate fire on one group, another group struck from a different angle. Every time a ship tried to retreat, it found its path blocked. The battle became a slaughter. On the human command ship HSS Resolution, General Cerro Conquo watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Everything was going according to plan. The Dominion fleet was being systematically dismantled, ship by ship, formation by formation. Admiral Kethra's flagship is attempting to break through our lines, her tactical officer reported. Should we destroy it? Okonkwo shook her head. No, disable it and prepare boarding parties. I want the Admiral alive. Yes, General. Across the battlefield, similar scenes were playing out. Human ships swarmed Dominion vessels, overwhelming them with coordinated attacks. Some Dominion captains tried to surrender, and the humans accepted their surrender, taking prisoners rather than destroying helpless ships. Others fought to the death, and the humans granted them that death quickly and cleanly. It was over in less than an hour. 200 Dominion warships reduced to wreckage and captured hulls. The greatest fleet the Dominion had sent to war in centuries, destroyed by a species they had dismissed as primitive and weak. Kethra was brought before General Okonkwo in chains. His scales had turned gray with shock. He could not understand what had happened. He could not process the magnitude of his defeat. How? He demanded. How is this possible? Where did all those ships come from? Okonkwo looked at him with something that might have been pity. We built them, she said simply. Over 3,000 years, we built them. Ship by ship, weapon by weapon, soldier by soldier. All in secret, all waiting for this day. But why? Why would you build such a fleet if you never planned to use it? You have stayed out of galactic affairs for your entire existence. Because we were waiting, Okonkwo replied. Waiting for the right reason to reveal ourselves. Waiting for a cause worthy of everything we had prepared. She leaned forward. You gave us that cause when you threatened the Villani. You reminded us of our debt. You gave us permission to finally pay it. Kethra's eyes widened with sudden understanding. This was always the plan. You always intended to. We hoped we would never have to, Okonkwo interrupted. We hoped the galaxy would leave the Villani alone. We hoped we could live in peace forever, building our strength but never using it. But we also knew that hope was not a strategy. So we prepared. And when you came for our friends, we were ready. Across the galaxy, news of the battle spread faster than light. The Galactic Council received reports of impossible numbers. Thousands of human ships. Tens of thousands. Maybe more. Analysts struggled to explain where they had come from. How they had been hidden. Why no one had known about them. The Dominion received the same reports. And for the first time in 15,000 years, the rulers of half the galaxy felt fear. But the humans were not finished. Even as the last Dominion ships in the first battle were being captured, more human fleets were emerging from hidden positions throughout the galaxy. They struck Dominion outposts. They appeared at strategic locations. They cut supply lines and disrupted communications. It was not just one battle. It was a coordinated campaign across thousands of light years, executed with precision that suggested years of careful planning. On Earth, Elder Soraya watched the news reports with other Villani refugees. They saw human ships carrying their flag into battle. They heard human soldiers shouting their name as a war cry. They witnessed a species they had saved repaying that salvation with everything they had. They are fighting a galactic war, one young Villani said in disbelief. All for us. All because of what our ancestors did. Soraya nodded slowly. This is what kindness can grow into, she said. When you plant seeds of compassion, sometimes they grow into forests you never imagined. Our ancestors planted seeds 12,000 years ago. Today we are seeing what grew from them. Will the humans win? Soraya thought about the question carefully. She had lived a long time. She had seen empires rise and fall. She knew that war was unpredictable, that victory was never certain, that even the strongest could be brought down by bad luck or unexpected enemies. But she also saw something in the humans that she had not seen in any other species. A determination that went beyond logic. A commitment that defied calculation. They were not fighting because they thought they could win. They were fighting because they believed it was right, and that kind of belief could move mountains. I do not know if they will win, she admitted, but I know they will not stop trying. And sometimes that is enough. Back in the remains of the battlefield, General Okonkwo stood before Admiral Kethra one final time. "We are sending you back to the Dominion," she told him. "You will carry a message to your leaders. Tell them that humanity is coming. Tell them that we remember everything. Tell them that the Velani are under our protection, and that protection extends to everyone the Dominion has ever harmed." She paused. "Tell them that their empire is over. The only question now is how many people have to die before they accept it." Kethra looked. The war spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Human fleets appeared in systems that had never seen them before. They struck Dominion military bases. They disabled weapons platforms. They cut communication lines and disrupted supply chains. And everywhere they went, they did something that confused the Dominion commanders completely. They freed people on the planet Kareth. Human soldiers landed in the capital city and announced that the Dominion occupation was over. The Kareth people, who had been conquered 3,000 years ago, could not believe what they were hearing. They expected the humans to install themselves as new rulers. They expected demands for tribute, for resources, for loyalty. Instead, the human commander asked them one simple question: "What do you need?" Food, medicine, building materials, tools for reconstruction, education for children who had grown up under oppression. The humans provided all of it, asking nothing in return. "Why are you doing this?" the Kareth leader asked. "You are fighting a war. These resources could go to your military. Why waste them on us?" The human commander, a woman named Colonel Adisa, smiled gently. "Because this is why we are fighting the war. Not to conquer territory, not to gain power. We are fighting to end the Dominion's cruelty. What would be the point of defeating them if we just became another version of them?" The same scene repeated across dozens of worlds. Human forces would arrive, defeat the Dominion garrison, and immediately begin helping the local population. They built hospitals. They repaired infrastructure. They treated every species with respect and kindness, regardless of their history or their usefulness to the war effort. Word spread quickly. Species that had hated the Dominion for generations began to see the humans not as another threat, but as genuine liberators. Some began to offer assistance, intelligence about Dominion movements, safe harbors for human ships, volunteers who wanted to fight alongside the species that had shown them kindness. The Dominion Accord began to crack. Counselor Thryn stood in the emergency session of the Dominion High Council and tried to restore calm. It was not working. The representatives from 100 species were shouting, accusing each other, demanding answers that no one could provide. "We must unite against the human threat," Thryn insisted. "If we stand together, we can still defeat them. They are one species against many. Numbers are on our side. Numbers mean nothing if half of those numbers are ready to rebel." Admiral Vorn replied. He had survived the disaster at the first battle by being too cautious to join the attack. Now his caution looked like wisdom. The humans are not just winning battles. They are winning hearts. Every world they liberate becomes their ally. Every population they help becomes their supporter. We are losing this war not because we are outgunned, but because we are outhought. Then what do you suggest? Vorn was silent for a moment. Negotiation. We must offer the humans terms before we lose everything. Thryn laughed bitterly. Negotiate. After 15,000 years of dominance, the Dominion does not negotiate. The Dominion demands. Then the Dominion will fall, Vorn said simply. I have studied the humans carefully. They are not fighting for territory or resources. They are fighting for an idea. You cannot defeat an idea with ships and soldiers. You can only defeat an idea with a better idea. And we do not have one. The council descended into chaos again. No decision was reached. No unified response was formed. The Dominion continued to fragment as some species began secret communications with humanity, seeking to switch sides before it was too late. On the human command ship, General Okonkwo received a message from Counselor Thryn himself. He was requesting a meeting to discuss peace terms. What do you think? President Chen asked via secure communication. I think they are scared, Okonkwo replied. They have realized they cannot win, and now they want to save what they can. She paused. The question is what we are willing to accept. What would you recommend? Nothing less than complete dissolution of the Dominion Accord. Freedom for every species they have oppressed. Justice for the leaders who committed the worst crimes. And a new alliance to replace them. One built on equality rather than fear. Chen was quiet for a long moment. That is a lot to ask. They tried to exterminate us, Okonkwo reminded him. They hunted the Vilani for 3,000 years. They have enslaved and murdered countless species. Anything less than total transformation would be a betrayal of everyone who suffered under them. Agreed. Arrange the meeting. But do not accept anything that leaves the Dominion structure intact. They had their chance to be decent. They chose cruelty instead. Now they pay the price. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station at the edge of contested territory. Counselor Thrin arrived with a delegation of the most powerful Dominion species. General Okonkwo came with only 2 aides and Elder Soraya, who had insisted on being present. Thrin looked at the old Vilani with barely concealed disgust. You brought one of them? This is supposed to be a serious negotiation. She is why we are here, Okonkwo replied calmly. If you want to understand what we are fighting for, you need to understand who we are fighting for. The Vilani saved our species when we were helpless. Now we are saving theirs. That is what this war is about. Fine. Let us discuss terms. Thrin leaned forward. The Dominion is prepared to offer a ceasefire. We will release the Vilani from persecution. We will recognize human territorial claims. In exchange, you will end your attacks and return to your previous borders. Okonkwo shook her head. That is not acceptable. Be reasonable. You have won impressive victories, but the Dominion still has vast resources. This war could continue for decades. Millions could die. Is that what you want? What we want is for the Dominion Accord to end, completely. Every species that was forced into your alliance will be freed. Every world you occupied will be liberated. Every leader who committed crimes against other species will face justice. Thrin stared at her in disbelief. You want us to destroy ourselves. We want you to stop existing as an instrument of oppression. The species that make up the Dominion can continue. They can form new alliances, new governments, new futures. But the Dominion as it currently exists, built on conquest and fear and cruelty, cannot continue. We will not allow it. You cannot make such demands. You do not have the power. Okonkwo smiled slightly. Counselor, we have been very patient with you. We have given you chances to surrender peacefully. We have shown mercy to every Dominion force that has asked for it. But do not mistake our mercy for weakness. We have more ships. We have more soldiers. We have more resources. And most importantly, we have something you never will, the support of the oppressed. She leaned forward. Half of your own alliance is ready to abandon you. They stay only because they fear what you will do if they leave. But they fear us less than they fear you. Every day, more of them come to us. Every day, your coalition weakens while ours grows stronger. This is extortion. This is justice. Something the Dominion never understood. Okonkwo stood up. You have 1 month to accept our terms. After that, we will take what we have asked for by force. And when we do, there will be no more negotiations. There will only be the end of everything the Dominion built. She walked out, with her aides and Elder Soraya following. Behind them, Thrin sat in stunned silence, finally understanding that the galaxy he had known was ending. On the ship back to human space, Soraya spoke quietly to Okonkwo. You were very hard on him. Is there no room for compromise? Okonkwo sighed. Elder, I understand why you ask. Your people valued mercy. You sacrificed everything to protect a species you did not know. That kind of compassion is rare and precious, but the Dominion has caused suffering on a scale you cannot imagine. Billions of lives destroyed, entire species exterminated, cultures erased, histories deleted. If we let them survive, if we accept half measures and compromises, they will rebuild. They will regain their strength, and in 100 years or 1,000 years, they will do it all again. She turned to look at the old Vilani. We learned mercy from your example, but we also learned responsibility. Sometimes the most merciful thing you can do is make sure that evil cannot return. The Dominion leaders who ordered genocide will face consequences, but the ordinary people, the species who were forced into the accord against their will. They will be free. They will have the chance to build something better. Soraya nodded slowly. I understand, and I think my ancestors would understand too. They did not save your species so that you would be weak. They saved you because they saw something in you worth protecting. Today I see what they saw. What is that? The ability to be both strong and kind. To fight without losing your soul. To win without becoming the monster you defeated. Soraya smiled. That is humanity's gift, General. Do not ever lose it. Okonkwo returned the smile. We will try not to. That is all any of us can do. The month passed. The Dominion could not agree on terms. Some wanted to accept humanity's demands. Others wanted to fight to the death. The paralysis continued until it was too late. Human fleets surrounded the Dominion core worlds. The final phase of the war began, and across the galaxy, species who had lived in fear for thousands of years watched with hope as the old order finally started to fall. The Dominion capital burned in the night sky, but not from human weapons. The fires came from riots, from rebellions, from the collapse of a system that had held together through fear alone. When that fear shifted from the rulers to the liberators, everything fell apart. General Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the HSS Resolution and watched the chaos below. Her fleet surrounded the planet, thousands of ships forming an unbreakable ring. They could have destroyed the capital at any moment. They could have bombarded it from orbit until nothing remained but ash and memories. They did not. Landing parties are ready, her aide reported. Ground forces can secure the government district within 6 hours. Tell them to proceed. Minimum force. We are here to end a government, not to punish a population. The people below did not choose their leaders. They do not deserve to suffer for decisions they never made. The landings began at dawn. Human soldiers moved through the streets with weapons ready, but not raised. They secured government buildings. They arrested officials who had ordered atrocities. They protected civilians who ran toward them begging for help, convinced that these strange aliens from a distant world meant them no harm. In the great hall of the Dominion High Council, Councillor Thrin sat alone on his throne. His guards had fled. His allies had abandoned him. His coalition had collapsed like a house built on sand. When human soldiers entered the chamber, he did not resist. He simply looked at them with empty eyes. Is this how it ends? He asked. 15,000 years of power destroyed by a species we should have exterminated when we had the chance? The human captain who approached him shook her head. You had your chance 12,000 years ago. The Vellani stopped you. Now we are finishing what they started. The Vellani were fools. They sacrificed everything for nothing. They sacrificed everything for us, and we do not consider that nothing. The captain gestured to her soldiers. Take him to detention. He will be tried for his crimes along with the others. Thrin was led away. The last ruler of an empire that had terrorized the galaxy for longer than human civilization had existed. He would spend the rest of his life answering for the atrocities committed under his authority. Justice was slow, but it was thorough. The Dominion Accord was officially dissolved 3 weeks later. Representatives from every member species gathered on the very planet where the Dominion had been founded, and they signed documents ending its existence. Some signed with relief, some signed with tears, a few signed with anger, still convinced that the old ways had been right, but they all signed. The age of the Dominion was over. In its place, humanity proposed something new. They called it the Covenant of Free Worlds. It would be an alliance of equals, where no species dominated others, where decisions were made through cooperation rather than coercion, where the purpose was mutual benefit rather than conquest. We do not want to rule the galaxy, Ambassador Elena Vasquez told the assembly. We never did. We built our strength not to dominate, but to protect. First to protect ourselves, then to protect our friends. Now we offer that protection to everyone who wants it. What do you want in return? Asked a representative from one of the formerly enslaved species. Nothing except your friendship and your cooperation. Help us build something better than what came before. Help us create a galaxy where no species has to fear being exterminated for being different, for being weak, for being in the way of someone stronger. How do we know you will not become like the Dominion? Power corrupts. Every empire believes it is different, Until it is not. Vasquez nodded, acknowledging the question's validity. You do not know. We cannot prove our intentions with words. We can only prove them with actions over time. Watch us. Judge us by what we do. If we ever become what we fought against, we expect you to oppose us the same way we opposed the Dominion. It was an honest answer, and the Assembly respected it. The Covenant of Free Worlds was established with humanity as a founding member, not a ruler. The first act of the new alliance was to establish rights that could never be violated. No species could be enslaved. No population could be exterminated. No world could be conquered against its people's will. The second act was to address the debt that had started everything. On a beautiful world in a quiet system far from the old centers of power, the Vellani were given a new home. It was not charity. It was restitution, paid for by the species that had hunted them, approved by the new covenant as a matter of justice. Elder Soraya stood on the surface of New Vellani and watched human ships departing overhead. Around her, for 100,000, Vellani were beginning the work of building a civilization from scratch. It would take generations. There would be struggles and setbacks and sorrows. But for the first time in 3,000 years, her people had hope. Governor Adez Nwosu stood beside her, preparing to leave with the last human delegation. Will you be all right? Nwosu asked. There is still so much to build. We will be all right, Soraya replied. We have faced worse odds before, and this time, we are not alone. This time, we have friends. You will always have friends. Humanity will never forget what your ancestors did for us. Whenever you need help, you need only ask. Soraya turned to look at the human woman. I have a question that has bothered me since this began. Your species built the largest military in galactic history. You prepared for war for 3,000 years, all for us. But what if we had never needed saving? What if the Dominion had left us alone? Would all that preparation have been wasted? Nwosu smiled. It would not have been wasted. We hoped we would never have to use it. We hoped the galaxy would be peaceful, that the Dominion would reform, that justice would come without bloodshed. If that had happened, we would have been happy to let our fleets gather dust forever. But you built them anyway, because hope is not a strategy. Because our ancestors learned that lesson when yours saved us. They were weak and primitive, and only survived because someone stronger chose to protect them. They swore that their descendants would never be weak again. They swore that we would be the ones doing the protecting, not the ones needing it. Soraya nodded slowly. That is wisdom, hard wisdom, but wisdom nonetheless. Your ancestors gave us that wisdom. Everything we are, everything we have achieved, started with their choice to protect us. Today we repaid that debt, but in truth, it can never be fully repaid. Some gifts are too great for any repayment to match. The human delegation departed, and the Vellani were left to begin their new lives. But they were not forgotten. Human ships visited regularly, bringing supplies and specialists and friendship. The Covenant watched over them, ensuring that no one would ever threaten them again. Years passed. New Vellani grew from a handful of settlements into a thriving civilization. Children were born who had never known the fear of being hunted. Young Vellani studied history and learned about the ancient sacrifice that had saved a primitive species on a distant world, and the extraordinary repayment that sacrifice had earned. In schools across New Vellani, teachers told the story of the debt. They showed images of Earth as it had been 12,000 years ago, a beautiful blue world inhabited by creatures who did not yet know they were part of something greater. They explained how the old Vellani Empire had seen those creatures and decided they deserved a chance to grow. They described the battles, the sacrifices, the long decline that followed, and then they showed images of what those creatures had become, the fleets that had shattered the Dominion, the soldiers who had liberated entire worlds, the diplomats who had built a new order based on equality and respect. This is what kindness can create. The teachers would say, when our ancestors protected humanity, they did not know what would come of it. They simply believed that compassion was worth any cost. And they were right. Because of their choice, a great civilization rose from that small world. And because of that civilization, we exist today, free and safe and hopeful. On the anniversary of the liberation, humans and Vellani gathered together on both worlds. They shared meals and stories and memories. They honored the ancestors who had made this possible, both the Villani who had sacrificed and the humans who had remembered. Ambassador Elena Vasquez, now old and retired, gave the final speech at the celebration on New Villani. Her voice was weaker than it had been, but her words carried the same weight they always had. 12,000 years ago, your ancestors gave us a gift we could never repay. They gave us our future, everything we built, everything we achieved. Every human who ever lived since that day existed because of their choice. She looked out at the crowd, at the two species standing together under an alien sun. We tried to repay that gift. We fought a war. We freed billions. We built a new order for the galaxy. But even all of that is not enough. Some debts are beyond repayment. All we can do is try to be worthy of them. She smiled, the same warm smile she had worn in the Galactic Council chamber so many years ago. Our ancestors were saved by kindness. We became strong through patience. We won through determination. But in the end, what mattered most was not our strength or our patience or our determination. What mattered was that we remembered. We remembered who helped us. We remembered why we were fighting. We remembered what kind of species we wanted to be. She raised her glass.